Hi everyone, I'm Stella from Japan. I am honored to be a part of this interview. Thank you for having me. So, the first question, can you tell me about your journey of discovering and embracing your gender identity? Well, my discovery of my gender identity dates back to when I was 11, when I fell in love with a boy in my class. Before that, I didn't question my gender at all, since gender identity wasn't prominent and important in pre-puberty. I was comfortable being somewhat different. I haven't yet come to good terms with my gender identity because I still occasionally feel insecure about my own gender issues related to gender identity. However, I'm now more relaxed and accepting about my gender, I guess. Well, only time can tell whether your transition was beneficial or not. My journey has been okay. There are hectic times when I question my gender identity, but I constantly facing gender identity issues is essential to be authentic with your feelings. I want other trans people to feel comfortable with their own gender identity. How do you define gender and how does that relate to your personality? Well, the general idea of gender for the majority of people is there are only two types, and you are either male or female, but I define and identify myself as neither. I think and act like a woman, but I don't consider myself to be a woman, even after my transitioning. It's my personal preference to accept myself as a transgender person and be content about being trans. I don't think you need to pick either being a male or female to feel secure. Trying to pick either gender can be so depressing because you won't be able to completely fit into either, I think. I think I can be totally happy being neither male or female. My personal identity is heavily influenced by gender identity because that is how I grew up and spent so much time discovering who I am. God knows how much struggle we as trans people go through in a lifetime. This is something cisgender people may not need to consider so deeply. As I said, my personality is heavily shaped by gender identity, but gender identity is not everything. It's just one part of my personality. For most of my time as an adult, I don't need to think about my gender because there aren't many occasions where I need to think about gender. I've stopped overthinking about something I can't change, and instead I embrace it and simply forget about my gender until it's absolutely needed. So the next question. How has transitioning affected your relationship with your body and sexuality? Well, body dysphoria amongst transgender people is an ongoing issue. I personally still struggle after almost a decade of transitioning. Having said that, on the other hand, I'm more relaxed and accepting of myself for being who I am. I used to dislike my appearance so much that I didn't want to go out. However, at that time I was constantly thinking about what was wrong with my looks. When you think about something for a long period of time, you'll become obsessed with it. That's not healthy, is it? To combat that sense of being depressed, I stopped thinking about my appearance and focused on my studies and work. You don't need to numb or distract your feelings by concentrating on something else, but it definitely helps. If you are sensitive and worried about your appearance or gender issues, just find someone to talk to, such as a counselor, family members or friends, you should build your support network, and you can't support them in return on different issues. Helping someone else will probably help you as well. Don't just be alone and dwell on negative thoughts. Remember that the suicidal rate amongst trans people is quite high. Well, some people in your circle will ease your fears and struggle, because no matter how you are, you will find that many other people care about you more than you think. I had my ex-boyfriend at the time of starting my transitioning. He was helpful and obliging to care about me and help me get by. Without him, I don't think I would have come as far as who I am today. My sexuality hasn't changed since I've started HRT. So yeah. Sexuality wise, I don't think transitioning has changed anything. So the next question: how do you navigate dating and relationships as a trans woman, and what advice would you offer to other trans women in this regard? So first of all, there are lots of men who want to date you. However, amongst those men, there is a great portion who just perceive you as a sexual object, I think. You don't want those people, do you? I certainly don't. So don't settle for anything less than your own expectations. Find someone who values your personality and who you are as a person. Dating can be tricky, but dating is also like that for cisgender individuals. Don't just date a guy who is only looking for quick sex. This actually destroys your self-esteem. Well, my counselor told me to watch out for quintessential tranny chasers. I try to follow his advice, but it can be very hard to differentiate those people initially. They are pre or post-op, or about appearance in general. I'm not saying that you have to treat her with kid gloves. Just pay normal compliments and show your support. You can ask personal questions later when the time comes and she is comfortable talking about herself in this regard. So the last question: what are your hopes and aspirations for the future of trans rights and acceptance in society? Well, in my opinion, the current trend of making demands for trans rights and acceptance is centered around self-interest. As trans women, we should explore more effective ways of gaining societal acceptance than simply insisting that we were born as women. It is crucial that we engaged in more research and communication with other transgender individuals, sharing our experiences and knowledge to support our claims and fight for a future, I guess, where everyone can express themselves freely, irrespective of their gender identity. Ultimately, everyone deserves the right to feel free. Thank you, Trans Nights TV, for giving me the opportunity and platform to speak about myself. Thank you. Goodbye.